Hey guys, Kaking here, and today we're going to be playing some more Planet Coaster. So this is episode 6 in my Planet Coaster series. We're just looking at everything we've done so far, the medieval section, the mountain, the castle, all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm keeping this commentary style. I feel like it makes the videos a lot better. And I'm going to be honest, they're a bit easier to record, which means I can get them out more often. And also, they're shorter, even though I do more stuff. Like, this recording was over 4 hours long. But it's still going to turn out to be like 10 minutes or something like that. So also, I wasn't recording for this part, like for 30 minutes or so. And I kind of made this, like, ant's nest. Actually, no, that doesn't make sense. That's not a good analogy. I made, like, this tangled mess of paths. And I think in my brain, in my mind hole, this is gonna be like the scaffolding for the people who mined out this mountain, because I think the story I'm going with is that it was just a normal mountain, but then people mined out the inside, so then this is just all the scaffolding, and each one of these goes to like a part of the wall. So I think I'm gonna have some cool like exhibits there. Like maybe some people mining, or like maybe like a cool like gem, or like a pile of gems or something like that. I think that would definitely be cool. And then also, obviously, I'm gonna have some rides and then roller coasters and all that stuff in here. But I'm not gonna get into that in this episode because we have more important things to do. Which is, ever since I moved the entrance, which I think was last episode, people can't actually get into the park, which is kind of a problem. So you can see here, I'm trying to make a path that can get to the entrance. So I was like, hey, what about a transport ride? And then I looked, and ever since I got the DLC, there's more things, you know? So then I checked, and I'm like, oh my god, there's boats. So obviously, I had to stop everything I was doing and get this boat and redo the transportation into the castle, because I wanted it to be a boat ever since the beginning, or actually not the beginning, but ever since I thought up of the castle concept with the moat around it. I was like, yeah, a boat, that's what I'm gonna do. And then I looked in the options and I'm like, oh, no boat. So then I just did a monorail like half in the water, and it looked pretty dumb, not gonna lie. I mean, actually, it wasn't too bad, but it was still pretty bad. So, now that we have boats, I can actually kind of make it look cool. So I'm just painting the boat and stuff. I just chose red and black for the colors of this boat. I think it looks pretty good. And another good thing about this is that we could have way more vehicles. You could have up to 20 for this, and I just chose 6. I feel like 6 is a good number, 3 for each station, and they're just rotating around, so I think that's pretty good. And I was having troubles with the fact that the stations are so short. I couldn't actually get the entrance and exits to make it, because it's pressed up against the building, and before the exits and entrances were on the side, and they just go through the door. But because they're so short, I couldn't have both. I couldn't have the station go along the entire thing until I realized I could just make them longer. So, you know, actually, not a problem. So here you can see we're going through. I redid all the programming for the doors, so that works pretty good, or it works exactly the same. So the boat, I think it's really good. It definitely makes it look a lot better. When you're looking around, you're just like, why is there a train underwater? So anyways, back to the reason I was looking into the transport rides. It's because we need to get away from here to the castle. And basically, the idea I had was just use these chairlifts, like you'd find in a ski park or a ski resort, and use that. So originally, I had it go over this mountain here. But then I looked at it and I was just like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really like this that much, because you'd look at the mountain and all you see is a giant chairlift going over. So I decided, wouldn't it be cool if this was like an underground chairlift and it went like through a tunnel? I thought that'd be really cool. And actually, I think it worked out really well, because later when I put scenery in, you could actually see it really well, because you're just in a chairlift. It's not like you're in a train or like a boat or anything where there's, you know, obviously walls and stuff that impedes your vision. So now, because we have a chairlift, it's really easy to see what's around you. So now I'm just building the queue line for this, for these chairlifts, and I made this kind of spaghetti monster of a mess, and I was just like, So now I'm making a more uniform line, and I thought that line was going to be enough, but obviously it's not. So just making the exits, the queue paths, and then I check over here, and I'm like, what happened? Well, obviously a lot of people need to get over to the castle part of the theme park, because that's the only place where there's actually rides and stuff, so obviously everyone wants to be there. And if the only way to get there is to go on a boat, and the only way to get to the boat is to go on this chairlift, that means obviously everyone who's in the park needs to get on this ride. And on average, I think we have about 2,000 to 3,000 people in our park, which means that's a lot of people. So this line needs to basically hold 2,000 people at its most, right? Because most people will be in the park, but whenever the park opens, then people have to get back inside the park. So that's why I made this line. It's obviously way bigger than I need. This is pretty overkill, because people can stand there could be 4 people standing next to each other, and then every foot there's another column of people. So I was just checking at what point can I cut the line off and then just redo it so it's not quite so long, because this would be a pain to walk through. It's you want to get into a theme park, you have to run the 5-kilometer race. So, yep, just looking along this, and also I changed the speed of the chairlifts from 5 miles per hour to 10, just because the faster they are, the more people will go through, so the line could be even shorter. So, yeah, the line looks to end right where I cut it off, and now I can get rid of everything over there, so it doesn't look so bad. And now I decided to start decorating the tunnel, and I tried to use all these different rocks, but I was like, doesn't really look that good. So I just decided to keep using the alpine rocks. So I'm just putting some rocks around the tunnel, and this actually took quite a bit of time, but I think it looks a lot better now. Actually, I should probably go back and paint some terrain around it to be more rocky. But yep, just continuing to put some rocks down, and I'm not going to go all the way because that would take actually forever. Just this opening part took long enough, and I think it looks fine, because I was just worried because looking at the entrance, it didn't look that good. But once you're actually inside the tunnel, the rocky texture is just good enough, because I don't really think it matters that much. But once you're outside and you just see there's just a hole with no, it's not rough or anything, it's just a perfectly smooth hole, I don't think that looks very good. So now you can see we are inside the tunnel here, and I was just looking for what can I put in here to light it up, because I didn't really want to put lanterns in it, but I think that fits best. I don't know if there's any other cool looking lights I could use, because this is the inside of a mine, right? I guess lanterns and lamps make sense for what I'm trying to do. So, yep, just putting in some lights, and whatever, they look fine. So, I was having some troubles because apparently if there's enough light in one spot, the lights just won't turn on. Even though there's just one area in here that's just barely above the threshold so that the lights there don't turn on. But you know what, I just dealt with it, and it actually looks fine later, because I can put things at the very edge, and then there's only a thin sliver that's dark. So that looks good enough, I guess, just looking through the discussions. Apparently there's no way. Actually, there might, if you use a display sequencer or something like that, but I have no idea what that is. So it's fine. As I said before, it looks perfectly natural if I just fiddled around with it. So now I'm putting some people mining and stuff and doing some cool animatronics. So there's this really cool animation of this guy getting knocked off his feet and getting thrown backwards, and I think that's probably the coolest animation in this entire tunnel. So I spent most of my time on this guy, and then there's just some people digging, you know, and sitting down, taking a break. So, but that exploding guy, pretty epic. So I also put an exploding barrel there, so, you know, it looks better. And then I found an actual animated exploding barrel, and then that looked pretty good. Then I had to do some timing, and I also put this fire in it, so it's almost like, oh, it's an oil barrel, right? And then there's like fire like leaking out of it, and then he walks up and he's like, hey, what the heck is going on? And then it explodes, and then his friend's like, oh god! That's the guy cowering. So next thing I wanted to do was change up these supports a bit, because they looked a bit whack, just because they're like these metal poles in this what's supposed to be medieval setting, even though these guys are archaeologists, but you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I put some rocks around all these pillars, and I think it looks really cool. So it's almost like they're digging out this tunnel, but then they left some main big pillars in the middle just to be like, yep, not gonna mess with those, because then this whole tunnel will probably collapse. So up at the surface now, I also decided to continue like the rocky supports, and then this beam was definitely the hardest. This was a really tall pole, and for the longest while I was working on it, and I was just like, you know, it's probably fine. It just looks so skinny, and it looked pretty dumb, not gonna lie. But I go back and I change that later, make it a bit thicker so that, you know, it actually has a support. There's a reason that's standing, and it's not just like, ooh, floaty magic. So, yep, here's the part. I'm just putting a ton of rocks, and that's actually a lot of rocks, right? Like, that's almost like like a rock slide level of rocks. But, yep, I think it looks better, or obviously it looks better, but I think it looks a lot better with this big support on it. And I also decided that because this is just so big already, I just put these two little side beams, and then the chairlifts go right through it, and I think that looks pretty cool. So, yep, that's pretty much the chairlifts all done. I might go back later and then put some of the animatronics on like timers and stuff so that they feel more realistic and stuff. But that's a future problem. So now I'm just decorating up these queue lines. Am I saying queue lines too often? I might. I probably am. But I'm just doing some decorating here, making it look a bit better. This fountain, I think that looks pretty cool. That's like the coolest decoration I have ever done for like a line. So anyways, here is the finished product of the chairlift ride. So here you can see these lights lighted up pretty well, actually. All these people mining and digging, and that guy just sitting, and that guy exploding. I don't even think I could tell which part is the dark part anymore. I can't really see it. So that's good, that's good. I think I covered that up pretty good. And then we just kind of swoop down through all these rock towers and pull up in this station. And here we have another cinematic shot of everything else we've done during this entire series, pretty much, actually, with some bush teleporting magic. So the boats, definitely very cool. Chairlifts, very cool. I think those are really good, actually, and those are both part of the DLC. So, you know, this DLC actually it actually adds a lot of stuff to this game. I would highly recommend it. And they're only like $10. So, and obviously they add a lot more than just this. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this game as much as I do. And remember to like and subscribe if you want to get notifications on the next time I upload. But if you didn't like the video, you don't have to do any of that. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!